Stepping up to the couch, it's Brian, who led the league last season in cracked screens. But with his new athletic case, it looks like that won't be the case. Touchdown, Brian!
Hey everyone, welcome back. Now, it's been a while since I've made a video in my series where I talk about players that look like busts that I believe can turn their careers around, but we're back with this one, and in this one we're tackling arguably the biggest bust the NBA has ever seen. This player was the #1 pick in his draft, which shocked everyone on draft night. This inevitably put pressure on him to succeed at such a high level. It's not always fair to the players to create expectations and judge them based on where they were drafted because they didn't ask for it, but it comes with the job, so it's something that they just have to deal with. Now, if you haven't been able to figure it out yet, the topic of today's video is Anthony Bennett, and not only how he became the biggest bust in NBA history, but also why I still believe he can still carve out a solid career for himself in the NBA moving forward. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now, with that being said, let's begin. Coming out of high school, Bennett was no stranger to the spotlight. He was a 5-star recruit, both a McDonald's All-American and a participant in the Jordan Brand Classic, and was ranked as the 7th best player in his recruiting class on ESPN. He was highly sought after, but his choice for where he would play college basketball was narrowed down to UNLV versus Oregon, and UNLV ultimately became his choice. He went in hoping he could rejuvenate the once great Running Rebels program that dominated the 90s, but things did not play out that way. That's not to say it wasn't a good season overall, as there was plenty of positives that came from it, but it did leave a lot to be desired. Bennett personally averaged 16 points and 8 rebounds per game, and showed a very promising inside-out game by shooting 53% from the field and 38% from 3. He himself was fantastic offensively and showed a ton of versatility that defenses couldn't contain. The big issues were that he played with a bunch of guys who were, to put it nicely, not so great. A few of them were major shot jacks that took way more shots than they should have, which resulted in the team underachieving. They had their ups and their downs. They lost the championship game of their conference tournament, but still made the NCAA tournament, but they didn't last long in that either, as they got eliminated in the first round by Cal. After the season, Bennett was one of the most intriguing prospects in the 2013 draft class, and only a few weeks after playing his last game, he officially declared that he was foregoing his final 3 years in college to declare for the draft. Now, the 2013 draft was pretty weird at the time looking back, because it was seen by many as one of the weaker draft classes in recent memory, and there was a legitimate debate amongst the draft experts who should go first out of a wide variety of choices because no one really rose above the rest. Looking back though, you see quite a few really good players in the NBA now came from this draft, such as Victor Oladipo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Otto Porter, CJ McCollum, Steven Adams, Rudy Gobert, Dennis Schroeder, and plenty more. But none of those guys got picked first overall. Instead, none other than Anthony Bennett got picked there, which was even a massive surprise at the time. Most mock drafts had him up as a borderline top 5 pick at the highest, but not the very best. In fact, then ESPN analyst Bill Simmons was live on air covering the draft, and he let out a big "whoa" when the pick was announced because of how thrown off he was by the decision. His pre-draft scouting report from SBNation.com noted that he would be a combo forward at the next level because of his ability to stretch the floor and create for himself with his elite athleticism comparable to some of the best wings in the league. His offensive game was so polished and promising that the report even went as far as to say that if there were to be a one-on-one tournament between everyone in the draft class, Bennett would win easily. The defensive end was where the biggest worries about his game were, but he did have the necessary tools to become an effective defender over time. Now, Bennett was recovering from a shoulder surgery he had in the offseason before his rookie year, so maybe the expectations shouldn't have been so high for him right away, but that's still no excuse for just how poor his play was for so long. As a number 1 pick on a struggling and tanking Cleveland Cavaliers team, not only did he not start a single game that year, but he hardly even carved out a role on the team, and for good reason. His career started just about as bad as it possibly could have, with him missing every single shot he took in each of his first 4 games of his career, and he only had 2 points total in that 4-game span. It took him 33 games to finally score in double figures, which is 3 times as long as it has taken any other number 1 pick to do so. That was one of the very few upsides to his rookie year because not much else went well. Overall, he averaged 4.2 points and 3 rebounds per game on an abysmal 35.6% shooting from the field and 24.5% shooting from 3, on top of also being a defensive liability. The Cavs also quickly abandoned tanking mode when LeBron chose to return to town the very next year, so the team's patience for his development also disappeared, and they traded him in a package to the Timberwolves in exchange for Kevin Love. His year in Minnesota was a tiny bit better, but I truly do mean only a tiny bit. He scored a whole 1 more point per game, less than 1 more rebound per game, and his efficiency marginally improved, but it was still not near league average. After that season, he was once again given up on and was waived before the next season began. This time, he signed with the Toronto Raptors, and because he is Canadian, the hope was that he could kickstart his career in front of his hometown fans on Canada's only NBA team. Long story short though, that didn't happen. He was sent down to the D-League, becoming the first ever number 1 pick to play in the D-League, and his love for the game started to be questioned by his coaches and peers. Bennett once again ended his tenure with the team by being waived, and the following year, he briefly played on the Brooklyn Nets, which was his final stop on an NBA team. After all of this negative stuff I just threw at you, you're probably wondering why I still believe he has a chance to come back. Well, let's dive into that now. First of all, you're probably wondering also where he is right now if he's not in the NBA. Well, I'll have you know that he's currently in the G League and is actually working harder than ever to improve as a player and keep his NBA dream alive. He's had people question his mentality and work ethic his entire career, including his own former GM David Griffin, which has to be difficult to deal with at such a young age. But this is definitely a credit to his dedication, just keeping at it and still playing. Plus, he's showing signs of real improvement, and with the direction that the NBA is trending towards, his playstyle might fit perfectly. He plays for the Clippers G League team this year, and his newfound confidence can be seen both by watching him play and in the box score. He's averaging about 13 points per game, which is mundane, I know, but he's scoring on 56% of his field goal attempts, and more importantly, is shooting an absolutely phenomenal 45% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. He seems to have mastered the art of both the pick and pop and the ability to spot up. When he catches the ball from the 3-point line, if he has even an ounce of space, he's looking to shoot it without hesitation. And because of this confidence, the results speak for themselves. Also, he is still 6'8", mobile, and able to create off the dribble, and his defense is starting to come along slowly. In his own words, Bennett said on what he's trying to become, "I feel like that's what everybody looks for nowadays, versatile bigs that can guard." So he knows what he has to do, and he is actively pursuing making those necessary changes to his game in order to make a comeback. But whether or not these improvements will translate to the NBA level is obviously yet to be seen. Also, obviously he'll never become what was expected of him when he was the number 1 pick, which is borderline star status, but if he keeps it up, he does have, at the very least, a chance to become a role player in the NBA because of his skill set. Someone that he could look at and try to emulate in the league now is Daniel House of the Houston Rockets. House is also a combo forward that has done a great job as a three-point threat and playmaker alongside MVP James Harden. House had to play his way into a contract just like Bennett has to do now, but there are rewards to be had. Overall, it may not happen overnight or even soon, but eventually, if he keeps working hard and his three-point shot keeps falling at the rate it is, then teams will give him another chance, and I truly do believe that. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Comment down below what team you think should give Anthony Bennett a chance in the league. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.